Imagine you wake before sunrise on the lake's edge in 1521 AD, mouth packed with grit, hair stiff with smoke. You see darkness over water that seems to breathe. You feel the cold damp crawl up your calves as paddles slap somewhere out there, steady, patient, like a countdown to your death. The air tastes of burned maize and wetwood. A dog barks once, then stops, as if even the animals learn silence. You are not arriving to a battlefield. You are arriving to a living machine of water and stone, and the machine waits for you to step inside. You see campfires smothered low, their coals hidden under ash because light draws arrows. Men sleep in awkward knots, armor half on, fingers still hooked around weapon handles as if sleep is just another kind of guard duty. You feel your stomach pull tight with hunger that never finishes its sentence. The smell of sweat turns sour under leather and wool. Somewhere behind the tents, a horse stamps and snorts, sensing the lake like a cliff edge. Spaniards move like shadows, steel caps, quilted jackets, crossbows wrapped against the damp. Beside them, tens of thousands of allies, Tlaxcalans and others, shift and murmur, their sandals whispering on mud, obsidian edges wrapped in cloth, old grudges sharpened to a shine. You don't know who holds when the screaming starts. Therefore you watch faces more than flags. A memory presses itself into the present, refusing to stay buried. You see it every time water ripples. That night escape months ago, la noche triste, when men try to flee with stolen gold, and the lake accepts payment. You see bodies sink because greed makes armor heavier. You feel the panic of trapped breathing, the terrible mathematics of weight and water. But you survive that memory. Therefore it survives inside you, following like a shadow at noon. A messenger arrives at a run, but he does not shout. He whispers, because whispering feels safer, as if sound itself carries illness. You see the way people lean away, the way hands stop touching shoulders. You hear a cough cut short like a knife. The invisible sickness lives inside the valley already. Smallpox. It takes faces, takes eyes, takes leaders. You feel it in the silence after a cough, the pause where everyone calculates distance. The order comes down through murmurs and gestures. The lake city must be sealed, starved, and cut apart. Causeways, canals, aqueducts, everything that feeds the city must become a noose. You see men glance at the water as if it is a god that might choose sides. You feel the weight of the task settle into your shoulders, heavier than any shield. The city out there is not just stone. It is a system, roads of water, floating gardens, markets that move like tides. But you are told it can be broken. Therefore you are turned into a tool that must break it. The lake wind carries a faint smell, salted, brackish, alive with algae. It is the breath of the battlefield. The march begins, but march feels too clean for what your legs do. You slog. The ground sucks at sandals like hands that want you to stay. Mud creeps between toes and turns each step into a small argument with gravity. You see supply carriers hunched under bundles of maize and dried meat, but the bundles shrink each day. You feel hunger wearing a mask, always present, pretending to be patience. Powder for guns clumps in damp pouches. Crossbow strings go slack. Leather straps rot where sweat never dries. A cartwheel cracks, and the sound is a gunshot in the quiet. Heads snap around because every loud noise might be an alarm. Too many mouths follow the same road. Therefore food disappears as if eaten by the earth. You pass villages where doorways gape like missing teeth. You see women watching from behind reed mats, eyes flat with fear and calculation. Some offer water. Some hide it. You feel the tension. Allies today, enemies tomorrow, strangers always. A child points at the horses, big, impossible animals, and laughs once. Then the laugh dies when an elder pulls him back. Fear learns quickly. Trust is a bridge here, but bridges are the first thing cut. The work that follows is not heroic. It is carpentry, hauling, cursing, blisters. You help build brigantines, warboats, because the lake refuses to be only a moat. You see timber dragged from far hills, scraped raw. You hear iron nails hammered, each strike ringing like a promise. You feel your palms blister, split, then harden. The wood bites into your skin and leaves sap that smells sweet and wrong beside blood. Men argue over measurements and rivets, while mosquitoes whine near stagnant pools. The sun rises higher and turns sweat into a glaze on backs. The lake glitter is visible now, a wide mirror that pretends it is peaceful. The boats are built in pieces on land. Therefore, every beam must travel like a secret toward the water, piece by piece, as if smuggling a future. Fog of war sits over everything like a second sky. Scouts return with contradictions. One day they swear the city is splitting, starving, fighting itself. The next day they report fresh warriors, fresh resolve, canoes swarming like insects, priests on rooftops shouting defiance. You see commanders listen, then look away, because no story fits cleanly. You feel uncertainty move into your gut like bad food. Rumors fly faster than arrows. Someone claims a hidden gate stands open. Someone claims a trap waits at every gate. Someone claims the emperor inside still commands like a living drumbeat. You don't know which report is truth. Therefore you live as if every report is partly a lie. When the brigantines finally slide into the lake, the sound changes, wood on water, oars tested, hulls creaking like waking animals. You see men cross themselves. You see allies touch talismans, whisper names of gods, spit into the water as an offering. You feel the lake's cold breath rise up, dampening your clothes before battle even begins. The first push onto the causeways feels like stepping onto the spine of a beast. Narrow stone, water on both sides, no room to run sideways. You see the city ahead, white walls, temples rising, smoke threads curling like fingers. You hear a distant drumline inside, not panicked, steady. Defiance turned into rhythm. The causeways are roads, but they are also funnels. Therefore, courage becomes overcrowding. The defenders know the causeways better than any map. You see them pull up bridges, open gaps in the stone, creating mouths in the road. Men ahead bunch up, shields overlapping, boots slipping on algae. You feel your heart hammer because momentum becomes a trap. If the line stops, arrows find the gaps in armor. If the line moves, the road disappears under your feet. Arrows hiss like angry insects. Slings crack, stones snapping against helmets, with a sound like pottery breaking. A man beside you drops without a sound, as if the strings holding him are cut. You smell blood, metallic, sudden, mixing with lake rot. The water is not passive, but it waits below like a second enemy. Therefore, every stumble becomes a death sentence. You see it happen. A soldier steps wrong near a gap. Armor tilts, then the body slides. Hands grab for stone, fingers scraping, nails tearing. But weight wins. The lake swallows him with a small splash, almost polite, and the surface closes. You feel your throat tighten because the water does not care if a man prays in Latin or Nahuatl. Canoes prowl near the gaps. They bump the stone edges softly, like predators testing a fence. You see hands reach up, grabbing ankles, pulling. You hear screams cut short by water. The city uses the lake as claws. Therefore, the siege becomes a fight against drowning as much as blades. There is thirst too, creeping in while everyone watches for arrows. The aqueduct is severed and the lake water is brackish. You taste it when desperation forces a sip, salt and mud and something dead. Your tongue feels thick, useless. Your lips crack. You see men hide water skins as if hiding a weapon. At night, fires flicker across the horizon, raids, counter-raids. From a distance, the sparks and bursts look like New Year celebration, a sky written in light. But you smell the truth, burning thatch, burning maize stores, burning flesh. The night pretends to be festival, but every flare is a home, a temple storehouse, a body. Therefore sleep becomes guilt with closed eyes. The next dawn, the brigantine surges forward. You feel the oars bite in unison, wood flexing, muscles straining. Water splashes cold against your hands. You see the lake open like a road, but the road shifts under you. A gust pushes the hull. The boat answers with a groan. Canoes appear, dozens, then hundreds, low-shaped skimming, paddles flashing. They move like a swarm, surrounding, probing for weakness. You hear shouting across water, words torn by wind. You smell wet reeds crushed under hulls. The brigantine gives reach and height. But canoes give numbers and knowledge. Therefore, every advantage arrives with a hook in it. A stone skips off the brigantine's side. Another hits a man's shoulder. He yelps, grip slipping. You see a canoe dart close, a warrior standing with obsidian blade raised. The blade catches light, black glass, beautiful, hungry. You feel fear spike because the distance between boats is a single step, and falling means the lake claims you. A gun fires. The sound rolls across the water like thunder trapped in a barrel. Smoke blooms, bitter and sharp. You smell black powder, stinging. The canoe wobbles, someone falls backward. But more canoes fill the space instantly because the lake has no empty places for long. Noise and smoke feel like power. But power does not equal control. Therefore, the fight stays close, messy, uncertain. Landing at a causeway choke point feels like grinding teeth. The brigantine noses towards stone. Men jump, boots slipping, hands grabbing for purchase. You see the stone slick with algae and blood, a green-black glaze. You feel the jolt in your knees as you land. Arrows come immediately. Slings crack. A spear whistles past your ear so close the air seems to slice. The defenders are not a single line. They appear, vanish, appear again, rooftops, parapets, canal edges. They lure forward, then strike from angles. You see a bridge segment missing ahead, a deliberate gap, dark water below, bodies floating face down like discarded masks. The gap is a mouth in the road. Men bunch up behind you. But stopping means becoming a target. Therefore, the choice is made by pressure, not courage. Imagine that moment. The line surges, backs press into your ribs, and the gap yawns. You see the far edge, stone scraped raw, just far enough to doubt. You feel your lungs brace as if preparing for a punch. If you stop, you die. If you jump, you might drown. You commit. You leap, boots scraping stone, shield up, arms tight. For one heartbeat, you are weightless over dark water and floating bodies. The world narrows to wind in your ears and the sound of your own breath. The lake waits under you like a verdict, but the far stone rises. Therefore, impact becomes salvation and pain at once. You land hard. Pain blooms up your leg like fire-licking bone. You don't know if it breaks. You can't check. You see your foot skid, catch, skid again. Hands reach up from below, fingers slick, desperate, grabbing at your boot. A canoe slams into the causeway edge with thudding against stone. You feel the tug as someone tries to pull you in. You stab downward. The blade meets resistance, soft, then hard. You feel the jolt travel up your arm to your shoulder. Someone screams, but the scream is swallowed by water and chaos. There is no clean victory here, but there is a next breath. Therefore, you take it and fight for the next. The line wavers. Allies surge from behind, voices rising, war cries colliding. Steel flashes. Obsidian blades bite, leaving wounds that open wide. You see blood spray in arcs, bright against gray stone. Smoke from guns and burning torches drifts low, blinding. You feel sweat run into your eyes, stinging, mixing with dust until tears become mud. You cannot see the whole battle, only the 2 steps in front of you, the next swing, the next scream. A shield edge catches your forearm. It bruises instantly. A stone clips a helmet. Stars burst in your vision. Battle does not unfold like a story, but it crushes into the present like a storm. Therefore, the mind shrinks to survival. Somewhere inside the city, drums continue. You hear them between clashes, steady as a heartbeat that refuses to stop. The sound crawls under your skin. You see defenders painted, faces fierce, moving with the confidence of people protecting home ground. You feel a sick twist because this is not just conquest, it is intrusion into a living place. But allies beside you carry their own history like loaded slings. Old tribute demands, old humiliations, old blood debts. You see their eyes burn with something that is not only fear. The coalition is a rope made of many fibers, but ropes fray under strain. Therefore, every setback threatens to snap more than a battle line. Night falls again, and the lake turns into a black sheet. Fires on the water look like floating stars, torches on canoes, burning debris drifting. You see silhouettes moving in silence, raids slipping through canals. You feel your body tremble from exhaustion, but sleep feels dangerous, like lowering armor in front of a knife. A cough sounds in the dark. Another answers. Someone whispers a name, then stops, as if saying the name might summon the sickness. You smell sickness too, not just rot, but the sour human smell of fever and unwashed bodies. Smallpox moves without banners, but it changes armies faster than speeches. Therefore, fear spreads in a second language, avoidance. You see blisters on a man's face by firelight, raised, angry. He keeps his eyes down. Others step away, pretending it is respect. You feel a brutal calculation press into you. Help him and risk the same marks. Leave him and live with the knowledge of what that choice means. The camp becomes a place where touch becomes taboo. Food is passed at arm's length. Water skins are set down, not handed. Someone mutters prayers, but the prayers sound like bargaining. Compassion becomes dangerous, but abandonment becomes poison. Therefore, the soul fights alongside the body. The siege tightens. Streets inside the city empty of commerce and fill with desperation. You see it from canal edges and breached lanes, markets that once roar now echo. You smell refuse piling where no one has strength to carry it away. You feel the city's hunger as something almost physical, like a hand reaching out from doorways. Canoes still strike at night, still slip past, but their movements look thinner, less confident. You see fewer bright feathers, more hollow cheeks. You hear more crying carried on the wind, thin and broken. Starvation is slow, but it is relentless. Therefore, it becomes a weapon that does not need to swing. Still, the defenders are not finished. You push forward on another causeway, and the same trap returns with new variations. A bridge is intact, therefore it seems safe. But halfway across, stones lift, men ahead shout, the bridge is pulled away. You see bodies tumble in a cluster, arms flailing. You feel the line behind you press forward anyway because retreat is also a funnel. The lake erupts with canoes at the gap, paddles churning, hands reaching. The water splashes up, cold and filthy, flecking your face. It tastes like mud when it hits your lips. The defenders turn gaps into harvests, but each harvest costs them energy too. Therefore, the question becomes endurance. Who empties first? Word spreads, maybe truth, maybe rumor, that the last emperor, Cuauhtémoc, is still inside, refusing to yield. You see the effect on faces. Some stiffen with dread, some with anger, some with admiration they refuse to admit. You feel uncertainty sharpen because if he escapes across the lake, the siege drags on and the coalition cracks like ice under too many feet. Allies whisper about going home, about fields left untended, about families exposed to sickness. Spaniards whisper about reinforcements and dwindling powder. Everyone counts invisible numbers, days of food, days of loyalty, days until bodies fail. Victory feels close. But closeness is not certainty. Therefore, every rumor can tip a man into rashness. The brigantines patrol harder. You see them cut across canals, their sails catching wind like white teeth. Cannons, small but terrifying, boom, sending shock through your ribs. You feel the air punch your chest with each blast. Splinters fly from canoe sides. Water erupts in fountains. But the city answers. Stones rain down from rooftops. Arrows arc in black swarms. A lucky shot hits a man at an oar. He slumps, and the oars lose rhythm, and the boat lurches. You smell panic as sweat turns sharp. Control on water depends on rhythm. But rhythm breaks with one dead rower. Therefore, every casualty multiplies. Days blur into a smear of heat, smoke, and strain. You feel your skin chafe raw where armor rubs. You see sores on men's shoulders from carrying loads. You hear arguments break out over crumbs, then stop when an officer's glance cuts them. Rain falls one afternoon, sudden and heavy. It should feel like relief, but it turns paths into glue and makes powder useless. You taste rainwater off your lip and it tastes clean, therefore it feels like mockery because clean water is still controlled by the siege, by luck, by who stands closest to the barrel. Nature offers help. But help arrives with conditions. Therefore, gratitude becomes complicated. Inside the city, the sounds change. Not quieter, emptier. You hear less shouting, more coughing. Less war cry, more wailing. You see canals carry debris instead of canoes, broken beams, dead dogs, swollen bundles that are too heavy to be cloth. You feel a sickness in your stomach that is not only hunger. The smell becomes unforgettable, smoke layered over rot, sweet-sour decay, stagnant water, human waste. It clings to hair and skin. Even after washing, it stays, as if the city stamps its presence onto you. The siege does not only kill, but it transforms. Therefore, survivors carry the city inside them as scent and memory. The final pushes do not feel like triumph. They feel like pushing through a door that resists because too many bodies block it. You see prisoners stumble out, skin hanging loose, eyes too tired to hate. You feel the air thicken with flies. A man tries to stand straight for pride, but his knees buckle anyway. Some defenders still fight, not because they think they win, but because stopping feels like surrendering their identity. You see a woman throw stones from a rooftop until her arms shake. You hear a boy scream at soldiers twice his size. Courage does not vanish with hunger, but hunger erodes the body beneath courage. Therefore, the end looks like exhaustion wearing the mask of defeat. Somewhere on the lake, a scramble of canoes and brigantines surges, shouting, pointing, frantic strokes. You see a noble figure seized, hauled up, water dripping from his hair, eyes hard with defiance even in capture. You feel the collective intake of breath around you because a symbol is being pulled from the water like a spear pulled from a wound. But certainty still refuses to settle. Is this truly the last leader? Is this truly the end? Or is it another rumor that will collapse by nightfall? You hear prayers and curses spoken under breath, not because faith is strong, but because control is weak. The human mind craves closure, but war feeds on doubt. Therefore, even victory arrives trembling. When the end finally comes, it arrives like a body going limp. Resistance thins, then snaps. You see defenders drop weapons because hands cannot close anymore. You feel the strange quiet in the spaces between cries, a hollowing out that spreads block by block. You step through streets that once pulse with trade. You see broken stalls, spilled beans, smashed pottery. You smell wet ash. You touch a wall and feel it warm from nearby fire, rough with soot. A city is not only buildings, but systems, water routes, food routes, trust routes. Therefore, when the system collapses, the stone looks suddenly helpless. You look down into the water near the causeways and see the real cost. Bodies drifting, armor dragging them under, limbs tangled in reeds. You see offerings, broken idols, splintered canoes, scattered maize, floating together as if the lake mixes everything into one bitter soup. You feel nausea rise, not from weakness alone, but from recognition that something entire is being unmade. The lake reflects fire. For a second, it resembles a New Year sky, sparks trembling on black glass. But this celebration is made of ash. The empire falls in 1521 AD, but the method is the message. Alliances decide who stands together, disease decides who can stand at all, and infrastructure, water, roads, supply lines, decides who gets to keep standing tomorrow. The verdict settles with the smoke. You see the coalition's faces, Spaniards grim, allies tight-jawed, everyone marked by fatigue. Victory looks like hollow cheeks and stained hands. You feel the cost counted in quiet ways, missing friends, burned homes, a lake turned into a grave. No song rises cleanly. No cheer stays strong. The air itself tastes like aftermath, charcoal, salt, and something human that refuses to wash away. Conquest promises glory, but siege delivers arithmetic. Therefore, the ledger is written in bodies and broken systems, not speeches. Now imagine stepping out of the smoke and into the present. You see modern cities shining with glass and light, but still dependent on invisible roads, supply chains, water lines, power grids, trust networks. You feel how fragile normal becomes when one link fails. You remember the whisper about sickness, how a cough changes behavior faster than any command. You see the pattern. Invisible biological shocks still reorder society. You feel the same calculations, distance, risk, loyalty, still shaping decisions in crowded places. The siege is not only a conquest, but a case file on how complex systems collapse fast when water, trust, and health fail at the same time. Therefore, the story refuses to stay trapped in 1521 AD. The legacy question hangs where the drumbeat once lives. You see the lake city burning in your mind, and you feel your own world's networks humming underfoot. When the next crisis tightens like a noose, when water runs uncertain, when sickness returns, when alliances strain, do you see which bridge in your life is already cut and who is still being asked to jump?